This is the Priceless Bride on my journey to becoming a Proverbs 31 woman. Welcome to my journey. Today's topic is one of my absolute favorite things in the whole world, outside of food, for sure, and it is relationships. There's so many different kinds of relationships that I could probably talk about this topic for hours. So it'll probably be a multi video topic, just because there's so much to talk about and I don't want to sit for 35 minutes. I don't think you guys really want to sit for 35 minutes or even an hour, because I could talk about it all day long. So I am a relationship person. Friends, family, all my loved ones, I really think that relationships are huge. They help to shape our personalities and our character. And without relationships, we are really kind of broken, lonely people. And no man is an island. You guys know that. And so I just really wanted to talk about this topic for a little bit. So I am really going to focus on 4 types of relationships. The first being platonic relationships. You're not having sex with these people. It's not a romantic kind of relationship. You just really just love hanging out with a guy or a girl, whoever you are. And I mean, you guys just, have lots in common, whatever. The next relationship that I want to focus on is familial relationships. So people that you were born into relationship with. You don't really have a choice about who your family is. So sometimes you have to really make the best of a difficult situation. Or if you have really unfortunate circumstances, you don't really have any familial relationships, which can kind of be a detriment to your life and your growth. The next relationship that I want to address is sexual relationships. And you can have sexual relationships without being in a meaningful and fulfilling full-blown relationship. And those are really tricky. I'm sure you probably have experienced or have had a conversation with somebody who's experienced just a sexual relationship. And the last one that I really want to talk about is an intimate relationship. This goes beyond sex. It goes beyond just your best friend. It goes beyond familiar relationships. And this relationship is like a marriage relationship or a religious relationship. So if you are somebody who practices a certain faith, that is a really intimate kind of relationship, and it actually forges your outlook, your perspective, your relationships outside of that intimate relationship, and your value system. So the intimate relationship is the married, but also your spiritual relationships. Okay, so I've covered the 4 types of relationships that I really want to cover, or I've touched on them. And next, I really want to talk about the duration. So sometimes in your life, in my life anyway, there are 5 different kinds of relationships, the length of relationships that I really want to focus on during this whole topic. So they are seasonal relationships. So college, high school, camp, a job. Sometimes you will have like a period of time where where you just meet these people and you're like, oh my god, I totally love you. I think that you're fabulous. And you think that you're going to be in a relationship with this person forever. And it turns out that you guys kind of drift apart and you're no longer as close as you want. And sometimes you're like, oh, I really, really want to get back into a relationship with this person, but circumstances being what they are doesn't really ever seem to work out. And so you feel like you're at a loss because you had this great relationship that is no longer a part of your life. And those are seasonal relationships. Sometimes people aren't meant to be in your life forever. They're just meant to show you something. They're meant to help you grow. You're meant to speak into that person's life. It's not a forever relationship. The next kind of relationship that I want to talk about is a temporary relationship. And this is something that you kind of know. You know that it's going to be really a short-term thing. And temporary relationships are kind of like maybe you're visiting a country, or I don't know. Okay, let's say you're visiting a country and you're on vacation for like a week. You know that you're probably never going to talk to those people again. I went on vacation in Barbados for about a week on one of my birthdays with my cousin, and we were there. We had an excellent time, and we met some really amazing people, and we just totally loved them. We became Facebook friends and everything, but it was actually a situational relationship. So I'm going to lump temporary relationships and situational relationships into one category. So then there's 4 categories that we'll talk about. So it's not going to be a relationship that you guys really get deep into in certain situations, or it might not pan out. It just might be for a couple days, a couple months, or a couple years. But it's just based on the situation that you're in, and it's not going to be also forever, just like those seasonal relationships that we talked about. The last 2, long-term and forever. Long-term relationships are, I'm going to say, less than 10 years. And those can be like for kids or teenagers, those can be the people that you grow up with. And so long-term relationships, they really help you develop because you are who you hang out with. So if you are in a long-term relationship and you guys live in the same town, but then you maybe go away for a job or for college, or just something is taking you away from this space for a really extended period of time, you guys may lose touch and that relationship may come to an end. But you've been friends for a really, really long time, less than 10 years. So that's really difficult thing. It's kind of like heartbreaking sometimes. And the last relationship is a forever relationship. I call it a forever relationship, but somebody else may call it something else. Forever relationships are those things that are really very rare and beautiful. Forever relationships are those things that are really rare and really very beautiful. Forever relationships can be in the form of a marriage. It can be in the form of a really, really close friend that you've been through things with, and you guys have been friends for longer than 10 years. Some psychologists believe that if you are friends for 10 years, that you will be friends forever. And the reason why that is, because I have one, and I'll tell you guys about that a little bit later. The reason why that is because you guys have been through stuff together. It's not seasonal, where it's not a fly-by-night kind of relationship where something in your life changes your relationship. It is not a situational relationship where when things in your life change, this relationship is no longer something that is a part of your life. This relationship stands trials, it stands changes in your life circumstances, and it changes you, but it also stands with those changes. It's really hard to find somebody who is not your relative, who is not your husband or wife, who is not your partner, who you can be in a forever relationship with. Because your ideals change as you get older, your perspective changes, your circumstances change for both of you. So it's two completely different people who just happen to really, really love each other for a really long time. And there can definitely be dysfunctional forever relationships. I've seen those too, where one or both the parties are constantly at each other's throat, but that's kind of how they function. And that might work for them, but it's still dysfunctional. So if you have one of those, you know who you are. So those are the relationship durations that we will talk about. The next portion of this conversation is what the relationships mean to each person in that relationship. So, for example, if you're in a platonic forever relationship, that means, a really, really close friend of the opposite sex, or someone of the same sex you don't have sex with. They're not obligated. They're not obligated to you in any way, but you guys are just in a relationship. There are three ways that this relationship is nourishing you guys. The first one is give and give. So you both have really open and generous hearts, and it works for you that you are generous to both people. So one person isn't losing out more than the other, or the other person isn't really starved for affection. You both are contributing to the relationship. The next one is a give and take relationship. There's going to be a person who just gives and gives and gives, and that's just the nature of that person. Or they're kind of compulsory, or they have to do this, but they don't really want this type of relationship. Now there's the other side where the person is constantly taking everything that the person is giving without giving anything in return. That kind of relationship is really kind of toxic, because when you're in a relationship, you want to be able to feel like you are benefiting and that you're benefiting somebody. So give and take is really kind of the best way that you want to see a relationship. The last one is a take and take relationship, where both people are in a relationship trying to see how much they can receive from this relationship before it's over. I don't really think those relationships last for very long. So those are the three types of relationship dynamics that I also want to address. Reasons to leave a relationship. There's so many different reasons to end a relationship. Whether it be a platonic, whether it be, somebody in your family, whether it be a sexual relationship, or even if it's something that's really, really intimate, like a married relationship or your religious relationship. Some reasons that I'm gonna address and note to leave a relationship are if you guys have a disagreement and it's not fixable. There's so many different issues and even really petty things that can come up in a relationship that will end and dead your relationship. Take and take in a give and take relationship, those two are really kind of the easiest two to kind of end based on a disagreement. Then there is the outgrowing, and we talked about that in a temporary, a seasonal, or a situational, or even a long-term relationship. It just it can just be time for you to move on. The next kind is a miscommunication, and it's similar to a disagreement. Um, and but with a disagreement, you both have an idea of what the disagreement is. You both understand that there's a conflict between you two. But with a miscommunication, one person can be fully in the know about why you're ending a relationship, and the other person can be like completely in the dark, like, I don't understand what happened. Why did our relationship end? And that one is really painful because it could be weeks, months, or years before you ever really know why that relationship ended. And you have to reconcile that in your heart some kind of way. And sometimes these relationships never get really resolved. The next type of relationship ending is infidelity. Now, you might think that infidelity is just based on, a committed partnership, relationship, sexual relationship, but it could also be with platonic friends, or, you know, let's just stick with platonic friends. So it can be with platonic friends, and it can be with your sexual relationships / intimate relationships. If you feel cheated and there is a breach of trust in a relationship, that can cause it to end. That's kind of what infidelity is. You don't have to have sex with somebody outside of your relationship in order for that to be infidelity. And you're probably looking at me like looking at my sweat and stuff. I'm so hot. I'm in the car right now. My son is napping, so we're just hanging out in the car. And I want to take this opportunity to get this video out. So a breach of trust is infidelity. If you feel like somebody's in an emotional relationship that they don't have a business being in, if you are in a committed relationship, if you feel like your best friend may be forsaking you for somebody else, either another platonic relationship or either their significant other, that could be an infidelity. Okay, it just it's a breach of trust. Okay, and then the last one is when you don't feel like whatever you're doing in that relationship is being received. Whatever you're doing in that relationship isn't being received, or you're feeling like in a take and take or a give and take relationship that you're just doing too much and it's not being returned to you. And that is really kind of difficult because it's difficult to gauge, well, am I being selfish, or am I really having, is this valid? Am I having a valid emotion here? And it can either be resolved and it can have a conversation, or it just is not, and the person doesn't really care. So I say non-reciprocity, but you know. So those are 4 parts of relationships that I really want to cover in these videos, in these next upcoming videos. The types of relationships, duration of relationships, what relationships mean to each person in that situation, and reasons why people leave. I am not a doctor, a psychiatrist, or any of the like. I'm really going to be talking to you about these 4 areas of relationships based on my experience and what I observe. because I've been a manager and in two different kinds of situations in the Navy and at Walmart, and because what was the other thing? And because I talk to people as a personal trainer, I talk to hundreds of people as a personal trainer, I have kind of a bird's eye view a lot of times on relationships and how they affect people. And I really just wanted to talk about it from my perspective and from my experiences, but I am not a doctor. So if you feel like at any time any of these things are really ringing in true for you, and you don't know how to cope or how to fix it, then you probably should talk to somebody who you can trust, or find a professional that can help you. I'm not a doctor. I am just speaking from my own experiences. So I'm not giving you any advice. I am telling you how I have seen things unfold. And so that leads me into this last part of this video for now, and it's my take on relationships. I told you at the beginning of this video that I am a relationship person. I've always been a relationship person. Ever since I can remember as a child, I have been a relationship person. I'm a very sensitive person, and I am really open to caring for people, and sometimes that can get you hurt because people take advantage of that, and that's where give and take relationships come in, and I've had those. I still have them sometimes. But I think that as much as you can help it, relationships should be forever. And I've come to a point in my life where a lot of the relationships that I have, especially that are really, really close, I'm going to try to do everything in my power to keep them as close as I can. And I think that the people who have come into my circle, who I feel like could be those forever relationships, they're worth keeping. So there is that. Next, how you work your relationships and create forever relationships. I've got just 4 things that I have found to be beneficial, and it's reconciling. You have to be really, really humble in order to move forward with a miscommunication, a disagreement, or any of the other things that I told you would cause a relationship to end. And you have to be able and willing to grow through challenges. We are humans, we're people, we're constantly changing and evolving based on our situations and our environment. So as long as you're open with communication with the person that you're in a relationship with, you should be able to jump those hurdles. Transparency, being open to sharing your heart with somebody, it really allows you to keep them in your life if they are willing and trustworthy to hold on to those things. Transparency is really very important for bearing your soul and keeping that relationship. Lastly is commitment. It is not in our culture at all to commit to things beyond whatever we feel like is a reasonable period of time. But if you make a commitment to somebody or something, you gotta follow through, no matter what the obstacles are that come up. So I found that those 4 things keep people in really great relationships. So we'll continue to address those things in my next videos, but I'm out of time. So leave me messages in the comment section, and please be sure to subscribe so that you won't miss any of the next videos. I'm the Priceless Bride on my journey to becoming a Proverbs 31 woman, and welcome to my life.